All right. So I'm going to give you a practical example of how drawing can make a big difference in the actual results. This is going to be 2D animation, but it still will hold true even for 3D. So in the early days of animation, they were generally short films. A lot of them were experimental. Once it became something that was actually, presented to the public in general, they were generally short films that were played before a feature length live action film. There were no animated films. But the goal for Disney and others was to create a feature length animated film. So a lot of the times when they created those, they would create these shorts as sort of experiments in order to pursue that lofty goal. So in 1934, Disney had this. He knew he wanted to make the Snow White and Seven Dwarfs, so he made this film, Goddess of the Spring, and the idea was to have realistic human characters that could act and would be able to hold an audience attention for a long period. I'm not going to play the whole thing. I don't even. No need for you to watch the thing here. So I'm just going to kind of cut in, and I want you to notice this is not good. See how her arms almost rubber hosy? There is no weight. She's just floating around. It's pretty bad. So Disney made this, and he's like, "Crap, we cannot make a feature film. This is not good. This isn't going to. This isn't going to work. It's terrible. If you want to watch the entirety of the film, you can. But trust me, it's kind of funnily bad. I don't know if that's a word, but so what he ended up doing is he's like, you guys suck, and he made all of his animators. I don't know if he could do this legally, but he made a deal with Cal Arts, which was a university that was next door to them, and he said, hey, if I send you all my animators, can you teach them to draw? And so they made a deal. He got a discount or whatever, and he forced his animators to go there to take basically drawing lessons, a lot of anatomy and that sort of things, but very foundational skills. Okay. Then, just 3 years later, he made this short film, of which he won an Oscar for. It's a short film, so kind of long, but if we get, it's called The Old Mill, and I'm just gonna kind of skip. Let me turn this off. You can see one of the things that they invented too was the parallax camera. Basically the where it had multiple levels. Let's get to where it gets a little bit more interesting. Oh gosh, hang on. Got to get that ad revenue. Um, but I mean, you can kind of see a clip here. Notice the quality difference. It still is, the old school, 2D animation. However, it is fundamentally far superior. And this gave him the confidence that they would be able to pursue a feature film animation. Um, but this is 3 years. And if you look at the quality from that to this over 3 years is ridiculous. And the difference was drawing. Um, so after this, then they started pursuing making and you can watch the whole film if you'd like. They started pursuing making actually, let me show you that. Wow. Uh, they started pursuing making the Snow White and Seven Dwarfs. Now, what ended up happening is that there was also Fleischer Studios, which you may or may not be familiar with. I know you're familiar with Disney. Um, Fleischer's also made a feature length animation. I think the same year or the year after, I can't quite remember, called Gulliver's Travels. And it's based on Gulliver's Travels. But you probably didn't even know that, did you? And the reason why is because it was not a success. It did not do well. And at the time, basically, there was Disney and there was Fleischer's. Fleischer's did a lot of different stuff that you actually know, like Betty Boop or Popeye or I think they did Fritz the Cat, the Superman animations, Mighty Mouse, those sorts of things. Those were all done by Fleischers. So they were right up there with Disney. They had their own technologies they're developing. They had their own things, and they were pretty successful for a large, for a long time. However, they did not make their their animators draw. And subsequently, the style of their animation, their feature film, was kind of still on par with that first one I showed you with the Goddess of the Spring. And so subsequently, people were far more enthused and were able to be emotionally motivated by the Snow White film and not Gulliver's Travels. So anyway, that was the difference of success was basically drawn.